How many times have you watched Kirby inhale something wild? Maybe a car, maybe a flaming enemy, and never stopped to wonder what that actually feels like? Sure, it's funny from the outside, but living as Kirby is a whole different story. There's a lot more going on under that pink puffball surface than most people realize. From his endless hunger, to his identity-stealing copy abilities, to the reality-warping weirdness of Mouthful mode, here are reasons why it absolutely sucks to live life as Nintendo's cutest, most overworked hero. Let's start with the one thing Kirby can never escape: his bottomless appetite. It's easy to laugh at Kirby's eating habits, but there's a weird, heavy reality behind it. Swallowing enemies, objects, and even cars isn't just a quirky animation. It's the bedrock of his whole existence. The thing is, Kirby doesn't digest any of this stuff in a normal way. According to official sources and what you see in games like Squeak Squad and Triple Deluxe, whatever he inhales vanishes into a kind of pocket dimension or black hole inside him. It's not about chewing, swallowing, or feeling things pass through his stomach. It's more like opening a door to nowhere and just shoving things in, never to be seen again, unless he spits them out later. That sounds convenient, but it's also pretty unsettling. Imagine carrying around a portal in your belly that can store anything from a flaming meteor to a vending machine, and you never really know what's in there. There's no real digestion, no sense of fullness, just this endless void waiting to be filled. It's not a stretch to say that Kirby's stomach defies all logic. He's less a living creature with a digestive system and more a walking pink singularity. Then there's the question of what all this inhaling does to his sense of self. Kirby's copy ability means he takes on the traits of whatever he swallows. One second he's swinging a sword, the next he's painting masterpieces or turning into a tornado. It's impressive, but it blurs the line between who Kirby is and what he becomes. The games show that he doesn't speak in full sentences, and he's designed to be a neutral, silent character, a blank slate for the player. But when your whole identity shifts based on what you eat, how do you ever really know yourself? If you're always adapting, always changing, is there even a real you underneath all those powers and costumes? And let's not forget the constant cycle of consumption. Kirby is gluttonous by nature. He eats, sleeps, and repeats, sometimes snoozing away half the day. Yet, there's never a moment where he seems truly satisfied. His powers demand that he keep inhaling, keep transforming, keep going. There's no real finish line for him, just an endless string of things to swallow and abilities to try on. It's a routine that looks fun from the outside, but it's also a relentless treadmill he can never step off. So, sure, Kirby's appetite is legendary, but it's also a burden that shapes every second of his life. He's always storing, always changing, and always at the mercy of whatever comes next. That's a lot to carry for one pink puffball. But the real kicker? This endless cycle of eating isn't even the hardest part. Once you realize just how many powers Kirby has to juggle, things only get more complicated. Kirby's copy ability is what sets him apart. Inhale an enemy, and suddenly he's got a brand new skill. Fire, sword, artist, each one comes with its own hat, its own moves, and its own set of rules to master. The games don't just hand you these powers and say, "Good luck." They give you tutorials, combos, and even special hats to drive home that every ability is a job in itself. It's a lot to juggle, especially when the world seems to expect you to always have the right power at the right time. Back in the days of Kirby's Dreamland, all he did was inhale and spit. Simple. But once Kirby's adventure hit in 1993, everything changed. Now, he had to be ready for anything. Superstar pushed this even further, letting him not only copy abilities but use multi-step attacks and even create helpers. Suddenly, Kirby wasn't just a puffball, he was Dreamland's all-purpose problem solver. By the time Forgotten Land rolled around, there were dozens of abilities to upgrade, each one more complex than the last. Every new power meant new expectations, more pressure, and less room for error. It's easy to see how this constant shape-shifting would wear on anyone. When you're always switching from fire to sword to artist, and every one of those comes with a whole set of moves, it's not just about being versatile. It's about never getting to stick with one thing for long. You're always learning, always adapting, always expected to know what to do next. The hats might look cute, But they're also a reminder that Kirby's life is a constant cycle of picking up new roles and dropping them just as fast. And then there's the whole question of who Kirby actually is under all those hats. Officially, he's described as a blank slate or a neutral character, someone the player can project onto. But when you're always taking on new forms and skills, it gets harder to pin down what makes you, well, you. Sure, it's great for gameplay, but for Kirby, it's got to be disorienting. Too many shifts, too many roles, and suddenly the core of who you are starts to blur. So while having unlimited powers might sound like a dream, for Kirby, it's more of an endless list of jobs he can never quite finish. He's always on call, always changing, and never really able to just be himself. That's a lot to ask from one little pink hero. But Kirby's challenges don't stop with just swapping abilities. Sometimes the job calls for something even stranger, like turning your whole body into something you'd never expect. Imagine what it's like when the world needs you to do more than just copy a skill. Sometimes you have to become the thing itself. Mouthful mode, introduced in Kirby and the Forgotten Land, takes everything we know about Kirby's powers and stretches it, literally. Instead of just copying an ability, Kirby wraps his whole body around massive objects, transforming his shape to match things like cars, vending machines, or even entire staircases. The result is a gameplay twist that's both hilarious and a little unsettling. It's not just that Kirby can become these objects. It's that his rubbery, mysterious anatomy lets him do it so seamlessly, you start to wonder what the limits of his transformation really are. According to the developers at HAL Laboratory, the inspiration for Mouthful mode came from exploring Kirby's core as a rubbery ball and combining that with the idea of a creature who could stretch to fit anything. They wanted to push the boundaries of what Kirby could do, not just by giving him new powers, but by letting him physically embody the world around him. It's a clever way to mix civilization and nature, and it opens up tons of creative possibilities for puzzles and exploration. But it also highlights something that's always been a little strange about Kirby. His body doesn't follow the rules. There's no visible strain, no obvious discomfort. He just stretches, warps, and keeps going. The developers have even said that how Kirby's insides work is a total mystery, and that's a big part of what makes Mouthful mode so weirdly fascinating. When you watch Kirby become a car, he doesn't just slap on a new hat or pick up a new move. He actually shifts his whole form to fit around the object, stretching himself in ways that don't make sense for any normal creature. The game never explains how he does it, or what it feels like. His face stays expressionless and there's no sign of pain or confusion. That's intentional. HAL Laboratory has always described Kirby as a neutral, almost emotionless character, a blank slate for the player. So every time he takes on a new shape, it's not about what Kirby feels, but about how he serves the needs of Dreamland. He's a tool, a hero, and a problem solver, all rolled into one endlessly flexible package. This design choice means that, while Mouthful mode is fun for players, it also adds another layer to Kirby's already complicated existence. He's expected to reshape himself at a moment's notice, to turn into whatever the world demands, whether that's a staircase, a traffic cone, or something even stranger. It's a constant reminder that Kirby's life is built on being adaptable, no matter how bizarre or challenging the situation. The game leans into this by never showing the toll it might take, leaving the mystery of Kirby's true nature intact. So while Mouthful mode is a brilliant addition to the gameplay, it also shows just how far Kirby has to go, sometimes literally, to meet everyone's expectations. He stretches, he transforms, and he never hesitates, even when the task is as wild as becoming a moving car or a giant vending machine. It's all in a day's work for Dreamland's hero, but it's hard not to wonder what it's really like to live in a world where you're always expected to change shape for someone else's needs. All of this adds up to a life that's far from carefree. Kirby might look like he's having fun, but there's a lot more going on beneath that pink surface than most people realize. Kirby spends his days napping, inhaling, and jumping into danger whenever Dreamland needs saving. His design is cheery, but his life is a constant loop, always adapting, always absorbing, and always ready for the next emergency. Even his anatomy is a closely guarded secret, with creators describing him as a blank slate and keeping the details of his insides under wraps. That's the real twist. Kirby is endlessly heroic and always on call, but the cost is that he rarely gets to just be himself. So, if you had to pick, which Kirby ability would you least want to swallow? Let us know in the comments.